Ray Fulcher on the podcast. So excited to have you on here. I've really wanted you on since I saw you play the Opry. I was at the Opry debut.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Completely stole the show then. I forget who was on it, but maybe that's the point. I don't even remember who was on it that night.
I don't remember. It's weird. I don't remember much about that night either.
Like
because
at
it was
all,
so
really?
overwhelming. You know, I remember bits and pieces, but I don't remember who else was on it at all.
You were kind of I remember talking to Dan Rogers after, who's like I think was he the president of the Opry, or he's like the manager.
He's
and
the man.
And him and I often talk about like Opry clips that he always goes back to and rewatches.
Yeah.
And he was saying that your clip of selling cars, he was like, I think that's going to be a clip that I go back to and rewatch.
Well, he told me
the
moment I came off the stage. I mean, like the moment Dan grabbed me and was like, "I've been looking for another clip to watch after Ashton McBride."
He said that to you too, right?
He said that to me, and he said, "And now I found it." He's like, "That was incredible." So, man, yeah, that night was a blur. What's crazy is even that, you know, the moment I played selling cars, and I got pretty emotional and stuff, and then I got a standing ovation, which is crazy. But I don't really have much because I was just so emotional and so like in the moment. Looking back, I don't have much like super recollection of kind of what that felt like up there. I mean, what it felt like, yeah, but memories and stuff and like images, not a lot of that.
So are you rewatching the clip also?
I have.
There's not a great clip on YouTube. There's sort of like someone's iPhone recorded on YouTube.
Right,
the
that's
clip
what it is. Yeah.
Is that the clip? There's got to be more of like an official clip somewhere, right?
It probably is somewhere. The Opry probably has it too. I just like the iPhone clip because it's like from the crowd and you kind of see all the people kind of, getting excited or whatever. But yeah, I've watched it a few times now, but golly, that was a pretty crazy experience.
What was because you played that one acoustic?
Yep.
You easily could have like brought the band into it, but who decides to do that one acoustic? Like you sort of close the set with it.
Yeah, I just decided. For me, it was I fell in love with music. I went to my first church show when I was 19, and he played. He like had a set in the middle where it was just him and a guitar, and the songs he played that night blew me away and like really just gave me this dream. And my Opry debut, especially that song, I was like, it just needs to be even if for nothing else for me, I just wanted it to be where it all started, just me and a guitar and the crowd at the Opry, and that's it. And sink or swim, that's the way I wanted it to be, and I think it paid off doing it that way.
It was such a cool moment. I mean, because you couldn't even get through the song, which kind of made it even better. It was kind of, I always like that when people like sort of, it's almost like when they laugh at SNL, the skit becomes better.
Right.
Like I like when that happens because it brings such like a human element to it. And it says like, whoa, this is a big moment.
Sure.
Like, do you remember what you were thinking, or you don't even have a clue?
Oh,
so
I do remember thinking, all right, don't choke up, get through this, and like trying to sort of be somewhere else so that I wouldn't just, fall apart. But then I went to sing, I guess, the second, so the first chorus, I do remember the first chorus, and I really don't even remember. I remember watching it back. I don't remember this in real time, but after the first chorus, the place went insane.
Yeah, were you expecting that?
No.
Because I think I'm in the video, actually. I think you can hear me in the video. There's someone on the first chorus who goes, woo! And I think that's me. Because
awesome.
I remember doing that.
Yeah.
But I was like, holy crap, this song, I'm cutting you off, but like the place erupted when you hit the chorus, right?
Yeah, it was like pretty silent the first, when I'm playing first verse and chorus. And then when I hit that first hook of the chorus at the end, the place erupted. And it sort of took me aback. And so then when I started the second verse and I was like kind of choking up, I just like let myself feel it then. And because it was, is one thing getting to play the Opry was a dream, but to have that kind of reaction halfway through that last song, I finally got to just like feel all the emotion that I've been like trying to just get through it all day and stuff, and it just kind of came out.
When you have you played the song since, I'm assuming, or maybe not?
At the Opry?
Or just in general?
Oh, yeah, we have.
And do you get the same reaction?
Depends
on
where we're at. It always gets a good reaction. And I get to tell the Opry story, and that helps. And then the bridge comes in, and it kind of talks about the Opry. And so, but it's one of my favorite songs off the album.
Where do you put it in your set?
We usually put it close to the end, and I always leave room at the beginning to like kind of tell the story of the song, sort of kind of the story that I told, a shorter version of the story I told at the Opry, and then get to tell him that I debuted it at the Opry, which is always cool. But, you know, what I always say, too, before we play that song is that it's for the dreamers and the believers and the underdogs, because that's what it's about, and, you know, at the heart of that song. And so people seem to, you know, really kind of latch onto that.
Were you, because I feel like when I listen to the song, it puts me in such a good mood.
Mm-hmm.
And it, like, were you trying to capture a mood or a feeling with it when you were writing it? It's such a, like, I've listened to the song, like, you know, multiple times when I'm like, oh my God, like I'm down on life. And this song just like puts you in a good mood.
Yeah,
it's
I think
like,
that's kind of that's what I wanted people to get out of it, is just kind of a, it's really my story in a song, right? It's like I was doing this and then I got this dream and now I'm doing this. And even if it's like a Matthew McConaughey thing that I've there's a clip of him talking before, and it's like, finding, like, it's the joy in the journey. And so that's why, even if I quote unquote, you know what the song says, even if I quote unquote came up here and failed, it would have been me never trying, would have been something that I could never get over. And so, and it's really just a song about that, like just kind of, enjoying the journey and not worried as much as about the destination, because it's you're doing what you've been born to do. And I truly feel that way, you know, with what I'm doing. So
that was such a cool moment. One, I've been to the Opry so many times, but that moment like always stands out.
Yeah.
That night, like I don't remember anything about that night except for the moment when you played that song. It was just felt like such a moment. And I feel like all your music feels so good. Like, you know, I was getting my wisdom teeth out years ago in like 2018. I was getting my wisdom teeth pulled. And in the like beginning of this operation, I remember the dentist or whoever was putting Novocaine in my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And he said this line I'll never forget. He said, "I officially pronounce you numb," is what he said. And in that moment, I swear to God, I had my headphones on, I was listening to a country playlist, and When It Rains, It Pours came on, like right in that moment. And it made me feel like a little bit better. Like it made me, it just put me in a better mood to be like having my wisdom teeth yanked out.
Yeah.
Like that song to me does the same thing. But to me, like when you were writing that song with Luke, it was originally supposed to be like a sad song, right? Or wasn't it supposed to be a downer kind of?
Yeah, so Luke had the idea of When It Rains, It Pours, and it was literally originally supposed to be something like, you know, when it rains, it pours, kind of like a sad thing. And when something's going bad, it was kind of like a, when it rains, it pours, the bottle kind of thing, is the way we kind of originally thought it. And
bummer. It's like a bummer song.
Yeah, absolutely. We love, those Rip Your Heart Out songs, that's honestly what we love to write the most. It's most fun for Luke and I for the most part. But Jordan Walker was the third writer. And then we just kind of were fumbling through this, trying to figure out how we make a set. And then Jordan was just like, what if we just did the total opposite and made it just the best, like, just create this 2 weeks for this guy, and it's the best thing ever. And like, when it rains, it pours. One good thing happens, and then another good thing happens, and it all starts with this girl breaking up with him. We're like, okay, we'll try it. Sat around for 30 minutes trying to figure out, well, how do we start that? And then out of nowhere, I just remember from the moment this happened to the end of the song was an hour, maybe.
That was an hour. You wrote that.
Yeah, but from the moment that Luke said out of nowhere, just goes, I don't know, maybe does it start something like, Sunday morning, man, she woke up fighting mad. And then we were like, whatever that is, that's how we're starting it. I don't know where it goes. And then we just, one thing after another, and we had so much fun coming up with kind of the deep sea senorita fishing and ex-future mother-in-law, all that stuff was super fun. But we walked out of the room that day going, Luke didn't even have a record deal then. So we walked out just thinking, well, we had fun. That song will never get cut, but we had fun writing it. And then...
Is that, first of all, why is that opening line a great line? It's such a great opening line. Is it because it just like sets up like the start of a story? It's such a good opening line, right?
It is kind of like the start. When you think about it, it's like how you would start a story. All right, on Sunday morning, she woke, and then from there. I also just think it's the way it kind of cold starts with that. And the melody just kind of hits you. Sunday morning.
Before the band comes in, the first thing you hear is the vocal.
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know why that's so good, but that's so good.
Either, yeah. And I think the only reason they did that is because the song is so long. And the song's over 4 minutes. And so to put an intro on it would have been 4:20 or something. So they're like, we got to find a way to save room. Because 4 minute song ain't supposed to work on radio now these days. And so We broke all the rules. We changed the words in the chorus. You're not supposed to do that.
I was going to ask about that. Were you sort of doing that because you were thinking like, this song will never get cut. Let's just have fun with the chorus. You know, what's the craziest chorus we can
That's
write?
basically what we were thinking.
Like, are you showing off in that? But when
we just were basically like, well, we have to write a different chorus if we're going to move the story along. But will that mess us up at radio? Well, no one has a record deal in here, so what do we care?
Let's this thing's never going to see the light
Let's
of
just
day.
write the song like it's supposed to be written. And so we broke every rule in the book. Over 4 minutes, a cold start, no intro, changed the lyrics, really wordy song, did all the wrong stuff, and one of his biggest songs of his career.
Yeah, it's like
my first number one, you know, so.
Yeah. One thing, because I know the story that you met Luke at, like, you know, your third day in town. You were getting drinks with a buddy. I think it was like your birthday, right?
Yep.
And he says, you know, some guy's crashing on my couch.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to come over and hang. And I just think you could have been like, you know, man, like.
I think about that too. I'm like, man, I could have just gone back home.
You could have gone back home, right?
Yeah.
And do you think you would have ever crossed paths with him again?
I would have crossed paths, but we definitely wouldn't have. I mean, because of that meeting, I was one of the only people that Luke knew when he moved 4 months later. So when he moved 4 months later, and I was one of the only people he knew, I was one of the first people that he got in touch with. So he's like, I don't know anybody. I know I met you once and we hung out and it was cool. Do you want to come over and hang? Sure. The next thing you know, we're listening to Keith Whitley records and we're, you know, playing Madden and we're talking about Eric Church and how he's our hero and playing the game of, like, you know, deep album cut Eric Church. And we couldn't stump each other. And we're like, oh, you're like the only other guy that I know that know. And then we just created this bond. And next thing you know, we're like, hey, we should probably write. And the first song we wrote was Beer Can, which is on his first record. And it just kept, you know, I've just texted with him this morning. I mean, we're still best of buddies. And that part's it's been like, we've never wavered in that. And we've never stopped writing songs. So, you know, just keep doing it.
Did you see, like I've heard you said that you kind of knew he was going to be a star, but hindsight's kind of 2020, but he seemed like the least star guy,
sure,
especially at the time of what.
Well, the reason I say that is because I had seen him play a couple, I'd seen a couple of his videos online before. And I was like, man, this guy can sing. But first time I heard him sing in person was at Tin Roof Revival, this thing we have that songwriters around in town.
Yeah.
And I tell everybody this all the time. I was like, I don't care if the dude looked like a prototypical country star at the time or whatever. There's been 2 times in my life where I was like, there ain't nothing stopping. 2 things in my life that I've seen in person that I go for the first time, and I said, there is nothing stopping. There's going to be nothing that can stop this or this person from being just one of the best ever. And that is because I worked for the football team at Georgia with the quarterbacks. First time I saw Matt Stafford throw a football, I was like, that is different than anything I've ever seen. And that is elite. And at 17 years old. And then the first time I heard Luke Combs sing in person, I was like, I don't care if he looks prototypical. I don't care. That guy is a star because I've never heard anyone sound like that in my whole life. And so immediately, you know, and even after that, he was getting turned down by record deals and out publishing deals and everything. Didn't matter. I was knew that guy's going to be a star.
And what was happening with you? Like, were you also getting turned down by record deals?
I was getting turned down by publishing
publishing deals.
Yeah, I hadn't even got to a point where I was having record meetings yet. But I mean, we both were just kind of having those meetings where you go, and if anybody's done the whole song and dance in Nashville, you know, it's the kind of, man, golly, we super dig what you're doing. Just keep doing it, and we'll circle back in 6 months. And you're like, well, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, but you just keep going and keep, you know, and I do remember this moment that was kind of a game changer for me as far as headspace and as far as mentality was. That was happening with us so frequently that we just were like, what game do we, what chess piece are we not moving that we're supposed to be? And then I remember Luke and I specifically going, well, we don't know, and there's really no way to know that. So instead of trying to figure that out, let's put our energy into writing, creating stuff that we're just proud of. Because in the worst case scenario, we get run out of town because we're broke and we need to go, you know, whatever. The worst case scenario, we have stuff that we can look back on and go, man, we're proud of that. And at least we were true to ourselves, you know. And the best case scenario is that we write stuff that's really authentic and true to ourselves, and it really comes across that way, and it's easier to write because it is coming from a real place. And if people love it, we might have something.
Do you ever see like young writers or artists in town who are very antsy?
Yeah.
And do you ever just want to say like, look, I didn't pick up a guitar till I was 21. Like, chill out, bro. Like, there's time here. Like,
absolutely.
Right?
I mean, I run into them all the time, and I know some of them pretty well. Where I go, man, I know how it feels. I know what you're feeling. But let me just tell you something. Like, I didn't even move to town till I was 4 years older than you. I didn't even pick up a guitar till you probably were moving to town, and so just, you got time, don't rush the process, because it is a process. And in a lot of ways I'm still in, on the, there's always a new hill to climb. There's always things to conquer. And I'm wearing both hats. I'm a songwriting and an artist hat. And so that never ends. And so don't, just find a way to enjoy kind of where you're at. And know that if it's consistency over time, that I think eventually wins. And it's hard, especially with social media. It's really hard, to kind of go with that mentality and not feel all the time like you're behind, or that like you're not doing something right, or you get super antsy, like you were saying. But yeah, I mean, those guys that are 25, girls that are young, that feel that way, it's like I have that conversation a lot where I'm like, you have time. And I know that sounds like some dad thing to say, but you do have time, because I'm living proof that you have time, so.
Were people supportive around you? Because you had this great degree. You could have gone and been a teacher, and now like you're approaching your 30s and you're songwriting. You haven't seen big success yet.
Yeah.
Like, were people saying like, hey, Ray, like,
oh yeah, for sure.
What's going on here, man?
For sure. I mean, and you could just, less people telling you, and you just feel kind of the, well, I guess he'll be moving back home in a couple of years, and whatever. And there, I have my nucleus of people and friends, and like, who truly believed in me. And even if nothing ever happened, would have been like, you did the right thing. You went but now now I can tell that. And I've even had some people tell me, man, kudos, because when you left, I was like, he'll be back. There's no way this is going to happen. It's a 1 in a million shot.
Yeah.
And I'm
From
later in
Harlem,
life,
Georgia.
and I have a master's degree, and I'm going to do this. Like, it doesn't make sense even saying it out loud. Looking back, I'm like, pretty crazy to do. But, so yeah, I mean, less people telling me and more of me just being able to feel that. But for sure, I mean, and I don't blame them. I would, if I'd have been on the other side of it, I probably would have thought the same thing.
Yeah, but it beats the hell out of selling cars.
Exactly, it does.
Yes. I've heard you say that, like, you'll write these songs with Luke, for example.
Yeah.
And like Luke will cut them, and you'll say like, look, Luke's got the biggest platform in country music, so he should be the one to cut them.
Yep.
But is that really true, Ray? Because I feel like you should be taking the best songs you get. You should be very competitive over these songs.
Well,
how's this work?
When I'm writing with Luke, it's been an understood thing for a long time between us that if we're writing, we're trying to write for Luke. That's been our thing, the thing that's worked for us. And there's been a song on my record that we wrote for Luke that just didn't wind up fitting exactly. For Luke, fitting exactly right, and so I wound up cutting it. But
that's Bucket List Beers.
Bucket List
right?
Beers, yeah. And I don't want to mess with that formula, because for me, but by saying that, what I have to double down on is that, okay, if I'm going to commit to that with him, then I need to make sure that I save time, ideas, and energy and headspace to be able to write equally good songs outside of that space. And challenging, because Luke is also a really great songwriter. We write really great songs together, I think. And some of those songs that we write for him are some of my favorites. But I still have the same opportunity to go write just as good of songs that I love just as much for myself. But in that arena with me and him, that's always been our kind of formula. Not to say, if I was to say, hey man, halfway through a song, I really want this, he'd be the first to say, well, let's finish it. You have it. But also I got to be smart about my career too. And so, because I'm not just wearing the artist hat.
Would you ever put out a song that he released that you guys wrote together? Like "Go Dogs" was released originally by another artist, right? Do I have that right?
It was on hold.
Oh,
so
it was on hold
by
for another
I'm pretty
artist.
sure Luke Bryan had it on hold. Because he was, he's from Georgia and stuff, and wound up putting out another dad song, I think. But thank the Lord, because I got to put that one out.
That is a great song, actually.
Thanks.
I think one of my other favorites is "Down in My Window."
Yeah,
which I feel like is that considered a deep cut? Do you play that one live ever?
we do actually, because it's so fun to play live.
What is I know it is from the song, but it just seems like such a random detail to turn to a song "Down in My Window," a little "Down in My Window."
Yeah.
Like was that lyric or was that title gnawing at you, or like how'd you get that title?
No, we just were. We were Jonathan Singleton and I and Wyatt Durrett were just writing one day and couldn't find anything to write about, and I remember we had already put out "Dance," Anything Like You Dance, and it was doing really well, and so we basically were like, well, let's put something out that feels that good, that kind of is in that same kind of rhythmic world, but and then we talked about what's the song you listened to driving in this morning. Mine was "The Cowboy Rides Away," and so we basically just did our 20, kind of not as cowboy 2019 version of that, which is just, hey, it's time to get out of town and no looking back. And so really those two things are kind of what inspired that one.
But that song's so cool because it's like this idea of like ride away, like maybe we've heard that country song before, but you bring it from this angle of like a little down on my window, which I feel like I've never heard anything like. Like I've never thought about that being like a significant moment of like window down, maybe shoulder on the window.
Well, it's like when the window's down and your arms
right?
out, it's like you just can see this image of, all right. And it's also this image of we're not even, and it's getting pretty deep, but we're not even super, we're in a comfortable spot in our mind and heart when you roll the window down and put your arm out the window and you're driving. It's a lot different than, it's there's no anxiety there about what you're leaving behind, and you're to that point where you're okay with whatever's behind you. I don't know if people get that from it, but that's what I want them to get out of it.
But did that line, like, did you say, like, what are we going to call this? And you were like, down in my window? Or, like, were you chewing on that line? Like how did you
at first it was something like...
Maybe I'm overthinking it.
No. At some point it was windows, with the something and the windows down. And then we're like, oh, that doesn't do it for us. But a little this and, a little splash in my cup, a little gas in my truck, a little turned up on the radio and down on my window. That does it for me. It's just a different way of saying it. Because we could have just gone, a cup with this and, a full tank of gas and then the radio up and windows down. That doesn't feel as cool to me. And all you're doing is swapping around some words. But, once we landed on that, it was like, is it right or wrong? Who knows? But it felt right. So.
Yeah, right. I had Jessie Alexander on the podcast, and she was saying that it was hard for her to transition from being an artist to being a songwriter, because she would always get into these writer rooms and people would say like, oh, we're writing for your artist career. And she would say, no, we're writing as a songwriter. Yep. You're like a little bit in reverse. Do you ever get in rooms and someone says like, hey, like, let's write a song for Luke, or let's, write a song for someone else to pitch? And then do you have to say like, no, like, we're writing for me. Like, I'm a big deal artist. I'm playing in stadiums. Like,
yeah, I mean, normally I'll just kind of, like, even on the writing retreats I've been doing, I'll just kind of up front, because I know that that's probably hard on their end to like know what we're doing, because I'm an artist, but also they know that I'm getting other outside cuts too. And so I always just say, I go, hey, let's write the best songs. And there's every one of these retreats, there's been at least one or two that I've pulled aside for me. And we've also got cuts with other people from other songs. So if there's somebody that we feel like we want to write for, then let's aim at that. But as far as aiming at me or whatever, let's don't do that. Let's find the best ideas, and then they're going to land where they should. That way we're not spending all 3 days writing for me, and we're also not spending all 3 days just going, well, I'm not cutting any of these. It's just kind of letting them go where they're supposed to go.
How many songs do you write a year, you think?
I mean, over 100. I mean, there's been years I probably wrote 200. At this point, I'd probably say I've written 1,000 songs or more. Yeah.
How many are church concerts you've been to?
I've been to, 7 or 8 at least.
Have you met him yet?
Yeah. Yeah,
are
we
you guys like buds?
We got each other's number. We don't text all the time. I don't want to be that guy.
Is that the most
but,
famous person in your phone? Probably Eric Church. Or
I guess Luke's pretty famous.
Luke's pretty famous too.
I have some. Let's see. I mean, Eric's real famous, huh? Dean Dillon's pretty famous, but in a different way. I mean, nobody more famous than Eric for sure.
How good is that? Do you still will you go see him live? And are you thinking about when you're putting your live set together, are you stealing elements?
Oh yeah, well,
from church? What are you taking from it?
Not we're not taking the play out of the playbook, but the kind of the reason for the play and what they're trying to do with that play. We're taking that mentality from it. Sometimes is what I do. But Eric's special for me because he's the one concert that I can still go to out of everybody, to where I'm not a music guy there and how they do this and I'm breaking it down, or I'm not as excited because I'm just doing music all the time anyway, and it's lost its the concert. If you do something every day, you can't help in life, but kind of it doesn't feel as special each time you go do it, or you go see something if that's what you do for a living, right? A football coach, when they go to a football game, it's not as exciting to them as when they were 10 years old as a kid because this is what they do for a living.
Yeah, right.
But for me, Eric Church concerts are still the thing that I can go to and that I can strip it all away and be that kid that was about to pick up a guitar for the first. I can still go there at his shows. That's why I love him still.
I feel like there's a couple artists like that for me.
Yeah,
that
you can still do it.
You can still do, and it feels kind of magical,
yeah.
right? It's it's a cool thing.
Yeah.
It's good to have a couple artists that you can go see and tap into that feeling. But have you thought about when you get are you gonna do double nights, double sets? When you get to that point, are you gonna tap into some of that he does?
I mean, here's the thing: to get to a point where you can do a double night would be incredible. To get to that point, it's really hard to be able to do, to be able to sell that amount of tickets. But I would like to think that if I could one day, I would do it. He was singing 3 or 4 hours a night back to back. Man, the guy's I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he does it. But they say you shouldn't meet your heroes because you'll be let down. Total opposite with Eric.
Why is he cool?
Because he's just and if you read his autobiography or read the biography,
he has an autobiography.
Well, he has and I can send you I have it at my house, and I'll send it to you, a picture or tell you so you can get it. It's it's not a autobiography. It is a biography that has been written, but it's not super in depth. It's kind of this between the first album and then probably Chief. Just kind of an Eric Church history with quotes and stories through the years, kind of thing.
It's a coffee table book.
Yeah, it's probably it's an inch thick and it's big pages and there's pictures in every one. And where was I going with that? I just got way into the book thing.
Talking about you never want to meet your heroes.
Never want to meet your hero. But that's where I was going. He says in this biography thing, he goes, when I turned the corner, coming out of the dressing room, he's the reason I did the sunglass thing is because I become Chief. I can't be Eric out there because Eric Church, just the guy not on stage, can't get that done. So I literally have to flip a switch. And then when I come off, I take it off, take the glasses off. I'm not the guy on stage anymore. And so spending time with him, the couple of times I have, he's just so laid back and he's so personable. And so he's not the guy on stage and Paul, I drank him.
I'm going to kill you.
Not that guy. Yeah. You're scared of that guy. Sort of. You're like, man, he'll kick my ass for sure. But when I've hung out with him, he's been real personable and just asking about my journey. And I met his mom, got to hang out with his wife, talk about his kids. We talk about the tour he's got coming up. I got to cut a song that he wrote back in 2004 for my record called Battle of Betty's Love.
Oh, yeah, that's a great song, actually.
Thank you. And he brought that up, and we talked about that, and just I think what he's known enough of, and I feel really fortunate to kind of be able to. He allowed me into his circle a couple times to kind of just be buddies with him, and I would consider. I think he would say we're buddies if you asked him. But I think he's probably a hard guy to get to that point with. But I think because we had the Does to Me thing, the Does to Me song that I wrote with Luke that he was a feature on, and then it went #1. Because of that and stuff that he's heard of Luke and I have written, and other stuff that I had written that I've recorded. I think he heard enough of that to where he at least would take the chance because he's has enough respect for what I've been doing to go, yeah, I'll let this guy cut this song. And also, I'd love to hang out with him, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. I feel like he's not wearing the glasses as much anymore. Have you noticed that? Or maybe it's the hat.
Oh, he doesn't wear the hat ever.
He doesn't wear the hat ever anymore, right?
Yeah. I think
he's over it.
He's probably just a
he's got a great
kind
head
of a brand shift. Yeah, he's got great
hair.
Great hair.
Oh my
Love his
God.
hair.
So
Salt and pepper.
So what's next for Ray here? Like right now you were just on tour opening up for Luke and you were playing in stadiums every night.
Yep.
Like what does it take to sort of get you to the next level? And you're crushing it, but is it the next song on radio?
Sure.
Or are you doing like a headlining tour at some point? Like what's kind of in the mindset here?
That's a great question. What gets you to the next level? Because if I knew that, you wouldn't have to ask it because I'd already be there.
You've got to have like a team. You've got smart people around. Do you ever talk to Cappy? Like, do you ever pick Cappy's brain on things?
Yeah, I have before. I mean, I have my own manager. We kind of do our own thing. But, I guess what I'm trying to say by that is you never really know what kind of gets you to the next. You just keep plugging away and trying to put out really good music and have a good marketing plan. And it goes to radio and it does this and you go play shows. There always seems to be, for all the people that have become stars, they'll probably tell you there's been that one moment where they go, okay, this feels different now. I don't know that I've got there yet. I don't know what that moment is yet, but, and you never know where it comes from. It could be a song. It could be a certain show. It could be some sort of appearance that goes viral or whatever it is. Could be a video on social media. You don't know what it is. And so I just try to serve all those things. And we've got shows coming up. We've booking shows kind of every day for the fall. And then we've got a bunch of festivals this summer. And always, we'll be back in the studio. We just put out my debut record, but it won't be that long before we're back in the studio because, especially in today's world, you don't have time to not have the gas down for too long. So.
Yeah, so it's really just more music. We gotta get back on the road. We gotta do
really
more things.
But and also too, taking every song on this record and making sure that it gets the life it deserves, and finding ways to make sure that happens through social media, through press, through the different stuff, through a really great live show. And I'm of the mindset that if the people who have got ears on the album really love it, and so let's find more ears. And there's a lot of different ways to do that, and that's kind of that's all we want to do is find more ears because we think they're going to love the music. And also not just love the music, but I think to get people really invested, they have to be moved by it. And we think that can happen if they give the record a chance, or if they, even come across it. It's up to us to make sure that more people come across it. So,
is Selling Cars going to be a single?
I don't know. I would love for it to be. Feels really good.
God, I love that song.
Feels really good. I think, I'll ask you, what do you think? You think every day, Jack and Jane, American, would relate to that song?
Oh my God. Well, what's funny is I think sometimes artists put out songs that feel very personal to their story, but they feel a little bit inside baseball,
Sure.
where I think that's a very industry song. I don't know if someone even gets some of those references. But this song it's just about chasing the dream. It's
Sure.
not even about making the music industry. It's just about, and then I worry too, are there some guys selling cars that are going to get offended by this song? I was thinking about that too a little bit.
I ran into a couple guys and I asked them that, and they were like, no. It's like, we all are thinking that. We all had a dream, and most of our dreams wasn't to be a car salesman, but you went and did it. And so we're not offended by that. We all get it, and we think it's cool that you went and did it.
I think it's got to be a single. I know we've got the publicist from the label over here. I have no say in any of this, but to me, I go back to it. To me, when the record first came out, I kept thinking I got to listen to this record. I got to listen to the whole thing, and I couldn't. I did listen to it eventually, but I couldn't get through the entire record because I kept just wanting to hear Selling Cars Again. I kept just wanting to play that song over and over and over. I don't know. That song, I just love it, man. It's so good.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
I love it. When did you get to the point where you could support yourself with music? Was it when It Rains, It Pours went number one?
I mean, 2016 is when I got my first publishing deal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was making just enough to kind of just write for a living. And then I was still supplemented playing shows, but the shows I was playing then, man, if you could break even, that was like a win and not lose money on the trip. But When It Rains, It Pours is, I would say, the first time, not just in my music career, my entire life, where I personally, my entire adult life, to where I personally felt like, okay, I don't have to think about money all the time. Like, I'm comfortable enough now to where I feel like I have a real job, So, I guess that was 2017.
Did you get anything like super luxurious?
Not really. I mean, I bought a house in 2020.
That
was awesome. First house. I bought a truck. It's not, I mean, I love it. It wasn't some crazy truck. I mean, it's got a 4-inch lift. So I always wanted a truck that had a little lift on it. And so that's what I went and got, but it's nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
And then the current single right now, Anything Like You Dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's the current single right now.
Yep.
Second song to radio, right? Do I have this right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
This is a great song too. All your songs just feel good. Like whenever I'm listening to one on a playlist, I'm hearing it for the first time, I always stop at like Ray Fulcher songs. They all sound good, but this one's really fun and kind of has a little bit of like almost like a like Born in the USA kind of thing, where it's like it's a fun song, but then if you listen to the lyrics, it's like, oh wait a second, like this is kind of deep, or this is kind of a cool song, right? Is that what you were kind of going for?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. That's honestly where anything up tempo, for me, that's kind of where I want to live. Is it trick you into it feeling so good that you're tricked into thinking it's not a deep lyric, and then when you listen to it, you go, oh,
wait a second,
there's a lot of stuff being said here. That's where I want to live as far as my up tempo songs.
How long did it take to write that song?
We wrote it in a day. It was 3 or 4 hours.
Does most of the best stuff come together in like one day? Do you ever go back to songs and like keep?
Yeah, there's one song, my the favorite song I've ever wrote, and it's getting cut by someone, and I literally can't say who it is right now.
Really big? Is it a superstar artist?
Yeah, big artist. It's favorite song I've ever wrote, but we had three different song writing sessions on it, and so. But then some songs are just as good, big hit songs that have been written in 45 minutes. And so who's to say it's just every song has a life of its own. So
yeah, no rhyme or reason to it. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
You just need to write. Do you do any like of the morning pages or anything? Do you ever do that? Like Julia Cameron always talks about this, just waking up and like writing in a notebook every day for like 20 minutes.
I do Wordle.
You do Wordle every day? Does that get your juices flowing?
Gets my brain going.
Wordle.
Yeah. You ever done it?
Oh, yeah. I'm great at Wordle. What's your opening word?
Trash.
Trash?
I don't know why.
Audio. I always do audio.
But I'm going to try that one tomorrow.
Audio.
Trash, I think maybe the 10th time that I played it.
That's a horrible opening word.
Hey,
why is that your opening word?
Hey, the 10th time? I don't use it anymore because the 10th time I got it on the first try.
The word was trash.
The word was trash.
There's one vowel. That's a horrible opening word.
I know.
Now, what do you use now?
Looking back
in hindsight, it was a terrible opening word.
I think what did I use this morning? Maybe it was like, this is also terrible. Like value I use sometimes.
That's better than trash. You got 2 vowels in value, right? There's a U in value.
No, it's 3.
3. What? VALU. Oh, 3.
Yeah.
Audio. I do audio, which gives you A, I.
I'm doing that. I'm doing that from now on.
Audio. It's
gonna do it.
It's. I'm telling you,
so
man.
If it ever
it's gonna change your Wordle game.
If it ever is audio, we're gonna get it on the first try together.
I'm 100%.
Yeah.
And we'll screenshot it. It'll be a big moment.
Yes.
Ray Fulcher on the podcast. His new album is out.
Mm-hmm.
Selling Cars. You gotta listen to Selling Cars on the brand new album. And there's a lot of great stuff on this album.
Thanks,
actually. The whole thing is fantastic.
Thank you.
Current single out on radio right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anything Like You Dance.
Yep.
This on Spotify. Ray Fulcher. He's capturing a mood. He's capturing a feeling. I don't even know if he knows he's doing this, but his music feels good. You gotta listen. What do you listen to a lot of country music still, or?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I tend to listen to more of the old stuff. I also love The Eagles. Love the Eagles.
Oh my God, I love the Eagles.
Motown music. And I love, my favorite is like probably 1985 to 1995 country. Like when Keith Whitley was in his heyday, and all those guys in that kind of mid to late 80s scene. And, you know, when George Strait was just rocking it with all those early hits, all the way up through kind of the Alan Jackson golden years. I mean, that's my favorite era. Man, I still listen to a ton of other country too. But yeah, that's kind of where my baseline, my kind of where is that, and kind of the Eagles sound and stuff, and Motown.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
By the way, I love that prank you did with Luke. You pranked him. You dressed up as Eric Church with the American flag around.
Yeah.
And then you jumped up on stage and like...
I sang Eric's part on Does to Me. And Luke told me right after, he goes, I thought, for the first 3 seconds, I thought it was Eric. I thought Eric had come to...
Oh, you let him down. He was probably so disappointed.
He did the thing where he was like, oh man. And then he went... Like, you know, right when he kind of realized it was me. Yeah.
Was it, when you saw that show at the Georgia Theater, was it sold out? Like, was he a big deal at the time, or was he sort of still on the rise?
It was half full.
It was like half full.
Mm-hmm.
And he played Lightning, right? In the middle of
in
Lightning.
In the middle of the set, yeah.
You were like,
and
holy
I just
crap.
was like, what is this? I've, if you ever listen to Green Lights, here's the thought. Here's the kind of the best way I could put it, the way I felt in the moment in a different way, is if you hear Matthew McConaughey in his book Green Lights.
Yeah.
And he talks about the way that he met his wife. He was like at a bar or this nice restaurant, and he looks over and he goes, and I didn't think to myself, who is that? I thought, what is that? I've never seen a woman that shined like that. And I kind of felt the same way. I've heard a million songs. I fell in love with a million songs. But when he played that song, I literally was like, what is that? That is something different than I've ever heard in my whole life. And that's what kind of made it all click for me.
But I don't understand how you had the confidence to... I mean, I get the selling cars thing. Like, I'm really into this. But I just don't get how you had the confidence to say, like, forget the degree, forget the fact that I'm 21, I haven't picked up a guitar. My mind's probably too formed to even learn how to play guitar. Like, you put that all aside. You said, screw this. I'm gonna figure this out, right? That's the Ray Fulcher method. Yeah,
that was the mentality. And two, it was... I always had this thing that I still go back to every once in a while, and there's got to be a first, is the way I always say it. And so, always growing, I'd be like, all right, well, if there's never been someone moved to Nashville with my talent level at this age, from this small of a town with zero connections, if there's never been someone to make it with all that, well, there's got to be a first. And so that was enough of a chance, like in Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance. That was enough of a chance for me to go, I've got to do this. I mean, once I had to make up my mind, like, for me, it was, I had to decide, can I wake up one day at 45, 50, whatever the age would be, and look back and go, dang it, what if? I could not live with that. And that scared me more than, it was moving to Nashville, doing this was the scariest thing I've ever done. But it didn't scare me as bad as that did.
As selling cars.
Yeah.
Ray Fulcher on the podcast, the new album Spray Painted Lines, this is sort of a reference to starting gates, right? Or this is
starting line.
Starting line, basically, is sort of, so this album is the starting line, basically. You've got a great cover right here, great track list. Everybody's got to listen to this and stream this. And he's going to be on the road in the fall, right?
Yep.
Doing
everywhere. So
everywhere.
I'll be on tour with Craig Morgan like later in the fall for a few weeks. And then before that, we'll be kind of doing some dates with some other artists, and then also kind of my own stuff, but it's all kind of coming together right now. So we'll have kind of a full list here in the next couple of weeks, I would think.
So check the website, rayfulcher.com. We've got the publicist Dawn in the studio. Have we left
What's
anything out? Have we missed anything? Has anything been unsaid, Ray?
I don't think so. I mean, we could talk forever, but I think, we kind of covered it, I think.
We've covered it. Selling cars, man. I can't stress this enough. I was
Next
watching.
Single, I guess, right?
Next single. Who do we have to talk to? I just saw that in the Opry, and I was like, I got to get Ray on the podcast. I mean, that song was just so cool. There's also, I want to ask you this too, because this is very in the weeds. There's sort of this, like, I think in the chorus, there's this very deep kind of growly vocal thing. Is that you? Do you know what I'm talking about? Is this in the chorus that happens? There's this very deep, Like now I'm trying to think of how the chorus goes. The
I'm 6 strings
deep in a long neck, long shot, as
neon all night scene. And these have empty rooms, don't give a damn about the dues unpaid. Or the new songs that I'm
Or the
playing.
new songs I'm playing. Right on that line, there's a deep, there's like, or the new song, there's like a deep voice under your voice.
On the new songs.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I can hear it. I think I know what you're talking about. That's just me.
Is that like overdubbing the chorus?
No, we didn't overdub.
No, there's no way. You didn't overdub the chorus?
No, I mean, Jonathan Singleton is singing harmony.
Oh, it's singing harmony. Okay, yeah.
But he may have done, when I hit the low note, he probably went low harmony with me.
Oh my God. I love that moment in the song. It's a great moment. I'm telling you, selling cars. This thing it's so good. It's so good.
Thanks, man.
All right. Ray Fulcher on the podcast. He's a busy guy. He just got off a writing retreat. He's going to keep doing Zooms after this. He's a busy guy. So we're going to let him run. Thanks for coming into the Chase studio.
Thanks so much for having me.
Coming on the podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. See you soon.
Lewis, do we get it? Whew.
What if Lewis was just like, I didn't get any of that?